Hello, and welcome back to our podcast,
Biophilia.
Biophilia. We have to make the eye contact
Yes.
for that to happen on time, and it's a new synced up every time. Today, Chris is going to teach us about some new marine species. It's going to be so exciting. This is his first
Episode.
episode.
Yeah, this is my first time doing this. Let's start with this. So it's kind of funny.
Wait, is it a fish?
It is a fish.
I knew it.
So it's interesting. So the animal
You have to start with fish. Sorry,
yeah.
but you have to start with fish.
The animal I'm doing is called a grunion. And surprisingly and kind of funny, the day we're recording this, there's actually a grunion run tonight.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
What is that?
I'll get into it later.
No, please.
It's the way how they reproduce. It's called a grunion run. I'll get into it.
Wait, I need to know now.
Let me just give you some background about them. The spawning is literally like the first big thing I talk about. I just want to give
Okay, fine. Well, can I say something first?
Yes.
I have a hoodie with a grunion on it. Did you know that?
Why do you have a grunion hoodie?
Because when I worked at the Homeland Ballast Point Brewing, there's a beer called Grunion.
Yeah.
And they had a hoodie that was like the coolest hoodie. It's like a light blue color. And it has a picture of a grunion on it. And it says grunion in huge words. And it's my favorite sweater. So.
Because grunions are actually one of the main animals of San Diego.
Is that true?
San Diego is the home of is probably the home of the biggest grunion run.
Hey, everybody, we're based out of San Diego, by the way.
Based out of San Diego, yeah.
I followed Chris here. He moved here first.
Yep.
That's kind of how we came to be here. We were living in Maui, and then we moved, and then he moved to San Diego. I was lost.
And then she followed me.
Yeah.
Okay, so the grunion. There's two different species. There's the California grunion, and there's the Gulf grunion. Today, I'm going to be focusing...
There's only two species?
Yeah.
Okay. That's
Today,
cool.
I'm going to be focusing on the California grunion.
Wait, what was the other one? Sorry.
The Gulf grunion.
Grunion.
Grunion. Interesting.
Is that in the Gulf of Mexico?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So the scientific name for the California grunion is, I'm going to butcher this, but Laristius tenuis.
Okay, hold on. Let me take a peek at his computer. Oh, God.
Laristius tenuis, right? Tenuis?
No, Lorestes tenuis.
Okay. Well, anyway.
Lorestes tenuis.
Okay, well, anyways, the first word is, it doesn't directly translate from Latin.
Translate.
Yeah, translate from Latin, but it has Greek and Latin roots in it. So there is a word called Leuros or Leros. I butcher a lot of words.
Yeah, okay,
Just forewarning it.
This is something to know about Chris. He is the smartest ever, but
I butcher everything.
the butchering of names is like a genuine problem, but it's not a lack of understanding of concept. It's the lack of like
Knowing how to speak
English.
Yeah.
I don't know how to explain it.
So the first part of the word is Leuros, which is Leros or something like that, and it means smooth. And then the second part, Esthes, Estheus, is like clothing or appearance. So that first part means like smooth appearance.
Oh.
And then tenuis is the Latin word meaning for thin, slender, or delicate. So it's like,
oh my gosh, so it's just like a perfect
yeah, it's just a smooth, delicate fish. It's pretty much the best way.
Is it small? Sorry, will you get into that?
Yeah, I can actually switch that right there. So most grunions are between 5 and 6 inches long, with some getting as long as 7 inches.
Okay.
And they don't live for more than like 3 or 4 years. Pretty short.
Really?
Yeah, pretty short lifespan.
Interesting. That's like pretty short for a fish, right? Like I would think most fish live pretty.
No, I don't know. I actually don't know the average fish life length, but I don't think fish live generally for super long periods of time.
That's interesting. I've actually never thought about fish lifespan on a large scale.
I haven't either, honestly.
Okay.
And so where they reside.
Sorry, are they skinny or like I know they're only like 5 inches long, but are they really thin? Like, would you think like when I'm like,
do you know what a smelt is?
No, when I'm looking at one, like what would I think of? Like a sardine,
like a mackerel.
Okay, so like kind of like
they're like a silverly fish, like like
just a classic.
Yeah, just a classic silverfish.
Classic silverfish.
But they're actually pretty cool because they're a little bit special. They reside generally, this is the general speaking, from the Point Conception, California, which is over on Santa Barbara, all the way down to Baja California. They're occasionally found farther north. I'll go into that later. and they inhabit the nearshore waters from the surf to a depth of about 60 feet. And tagging studies indicate that they do not migrate. And so a lot of the information I'm getting today is from the California Department of Fish and Wildlife. So the spawning. This is probably the coolest thing and the most common thing people hear
Is
about.
this where you're going into the Grunion run?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
So this is where people are always kind of confused because of the aspects of how and what the hell they're seeing. So grunions leave the water at night to spawn on beaches during the spring and summer months. So kind of coming out right now.
What?
What?
Wait, what?
No, let me get it. So for 4 consecutive nights, beginning.
No.
What?
We need to backtrack. They go onto land?
That's what I'm getting into.
Okay, wait, but you can't go into 4 consecutive nights when I didn't even know this silver fish could go onto the sand. How is it breathing air?
That's the thing. It doesn't. It like suffocates itself for a little bit.
Holy shit.
So yeah.
This
So,
is crazy.
no, they happen right here in San Diego. Like, just let me get to it.
Okay.
So they happen during nights, and so these are called Grunion runs. So for 4 consecutive nights, beginning on the nights of the full moon and the new moons, they occur a couple hours or a little bit after high tide, because what they do is at the peak high tide, they'll jump out of the water, so they're past the break zone. Because you're thinking about it, if you want to lay eggs, you don't want to lay your eggs in a break zone,
Right.
because
totally.
that's where it's all the turbulence, blah 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 blah.
You want them to stay put.
And so this is the kind of the cool part. So the
Okay.
female, she'll jump out of the water
At the highest of tides.
at the highest of tides, and she'll move her tail and kind of dig into the.
Wait, did they have like a little arm, like
No.
fins? It's all tail.
It's just a fish, yes.
This is crazy.
And so they use their, because like the water's still semi-wet. It's like that
Right,
muddy
sure.
guppy sort.
Yeah. Like really wet.
Yeah.
Like at the edge of the water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so the female will dig her tail in to the sand until she's about neck high,
Mm-hmm.
and then she will release all of her eggs into the sand. And at this point, men or male fish will come around, wrap themselves around her, and
What?
eject milt onto the woman,
Okay, sorry, what's melt? Is that like
male sperm.
Oh god.
And so the sperm literally drips down her
Ew.
onto her eggs
Okay, well don't say it like that.
and fertilizes her eggs
While she's in the hole.
while she's in the hole.
That's freaky.
So literally the best way I can describe it is a bukkake.
I don't know what that is, but
You look it up in your own time.
okay, everybody, maybe do or don't look that up.
Yeah, if you're above the age of 18, maybe look up bukkake. the way, okay, this is kind of funny, but the way most people know the word bukkake is from Cards Against Humanity.
Why?
It's one of the cards in there.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, so if you played Cards Against Humanity, you'll get this joke that I don't
Yeah.
get. Okay, cool. That's crazy, Chris.
Yeah.
No freaking way. So
Well, there's still more.
wait, can I ask
Yeah,
a
yeah,
question
go
though
ahead.
first? So when the females are out of the water and they're in the hole, so the tide's like going down, I assume.
Yes, the
at
tide
this
is going
point. Do the males come out at low tide?
They come out at the same time. It's
Oh, so
all
everybody's
grunions.
coming.
All grunions jump out.
Okay, everybody's coming in all the ways.
Yes.
Okay.
So, yeah, it occurs after high tide. So as the tide is starting to slowly recede back
Okay,
towards
gotcha.
the water.
Okay, everybody's in these holes.
And as many as 8 males may fertilize the eggs of a single nest.
What?
That's what I mean. It's literally like a bukkake. It's like a gangbang.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, so wow. So it's like just the strongest of sperm that gets down there is the winner.
Yeah, or the most amount that gets down there.
Or is it like the strongest, or is it like the quantity?
I would probably say it's the
or
quantity.
is it like first, or
I would say it's the quantity, because the female, she doesn't lay one egg. The females lay between 1,600 to 3,600 eggs during one spawn.
crap?
Yeah.
How often do they spawn? Is this once a year?
So this happens during spring and summer months. And I think they can do about 4, let's see. They can spawn several times during a 4-day spawning event. So they can come up each night and do this for 4 nights.
Oh my gosh.
Uh,
She has that freaking many eggs?
apparently so, yeah. And so the spawn may only take 30 seconds, but some fish can remain stranded on the beach for several minutes.
When it is, what time is this? Like, can I see it tonight?
Yeah, you can literally go out tonight.
What
to any,
time is it going to be at?
usually pretty late, so around like midnight. You want to go out tonight?
That's the highest tide in the night time?
Uh,
Because it's dependent on the moon.
yeah, I didn't think about the tide right now, but you can look on the Fish and Game Wildlife website.
Okay, good resource. Shout out.
Yeah, shout out them. They have like all the like estimated times of like when the Grunion runs will be occurring.
That is so cool. Okay, I'm going tonight.
And so I thought it's kind of funny that literally as we're recording this episode, one happened last night, one's happening tonight.
That's such great timing.
Yeah.
Very cool, everybody. Next year.
And so the eggs are kept moist by residual water in the sand, and they will hatch about 10 days after during the next high tide series.
Whoa.
Because then when the next high tide comes up, the ones that are ready will just swim out.
Right.
Let's see. Anything else kind of interesting about these spawning instances? They only have about a 3 or 4 year lifespan. They can spawn multiple times during these events.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go into the diet of a grunion.
Cool.
So grunion food habits are not really that well known.
Okay.
They have no teeth, so they primarily feed on zooplankton and other small microorganisms like that.
Makes sense.
But they are actually the food for quite a large number of animals. Grunions are consumed by larger fish such as corbina, halibut, guitarfish, sharks.
Guitarfish, those are huge around here. They're
Yeah.
everywhere.
Yeah.
All the time. Every time you go to the pier, somebody's pulling up a guitarfish.
Yes, they are quite prevalent.
Mm-hmm.
Sharks, sea lions, dolphins, squids,
Aw,
shorebirds.
poor grunions.
Yeah, so
They're everybody's food.
yeah, they kind of just get wrecked.
Okay.
And then during the runs, they're eaten by like coastal birds, herons, egrets.
Oh, I can't even imagine. It's probably
raccoons too.
Scene.
Like I wouldn't be surprised if you would see a raccoon on the beach grabbing some.
Foraging. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
And their eggs are food for shorebirds and beetles and worms.
Okay, I'm surprised they're not more of prey during the Grunion run for birds. I would think birds would be adapted to knowing
I think
and then being like flocking. You know, when you see birds in the ocean, you're like, oh, there's so much fish there. There's
Yeah.
so many sea lions there. You know, everything's right there.
I think sea lions do know kind of like a terrestrial clock or a clock like that. I think they kind of do when Grunion runs are coming.
You think that? You mean shorebirds?
No, sea lions. Like I think they're one of the few animals that actually do know. Like, oh, Grunion's coming. Like, let's go right on the coastline so that we can catch them.
Oh, interesting. Why do you think that?
I just read about it somewhere. I forget where.
Oh, cool.
And so most of my information is either coming from the California Department of Fish and Wildlife or pretty cool.
What?
There's grunion.org. And that has a lot of cool. That has a lot. Yeah, that has
you have your own org.
That has a lot of good information in there.
Very cool.
Any questions so far?
I feel like I've interrupted you a lot. Sorry. No,
whatever.
I don't have questions. I ask as they come into my mind.
That's valid. Okay, so now let's go into the population history of them.
Yeah.
So,
how did grunions come to be?
How did they come to be?
Yeah.
I don't know their cousins. I didn't look into cousining species, but I think they're very similar to smelts. Except I heard that smelts...
Do you think that, or just because they look like that?
Well, because I read a book. It's called... I actually have it in here. It's called The Sea Forger's Guide to Northern California, to the Northern California Coast by Kirk Lombard.
You've told me about this.
Yes, really great book, really great pictures. He includes them pretty much with the smelt family.
Okay.
Cool thing about smelt, apparently they smell like cucumbers. Did not know that.
Whoa. When you cut them or like just
no,
like...
just when you harvest them. Not harvest them, but like get them.
Fish them.
I guess harvesting is not the right word. So grunions are not abundant. Yes. So
that's actually shocking to me because I would think they would be. Because they're such a food source.
But here's the thing. The most critical problem facing the grunions is their loss of habitat, beach erosion, harbor construction, and pollution.
Oh, everybody take it.
Think about it. When you go to the beach, any beach normally, what are they doing in the morning?
What are they doing in the morning?
Early morning on the beach, they are raking the sand.
Wait, they do that?
To get all the garbage out of the sand.
You're kidding.
Yeah, they do that at most beaches.
Who does that?
Most beaches do.
Who is doing that?
It's the city.
The lifeguard?
No, the city. Like the city.
Okay, I've never seen this, but Chris lives on the beach, so.
Yeah, they rake the sand so you can just get all the trash out. But what does that also do? It's destroying all the egg populations right there. So
wait, they have not thought about this?
No, so here we go. Now they have a grunion grooming protocol created by the Beach Ecology Coalition.
Fuck yeah.
And they're called BMPs, or Best Managed Protocols.
Best Management Protocols.
Yes. Following BMPs are advisory in nature and meant to be a starting point for developing protocols, not the final word. So they're not like the law, but they're like, you should
best practices.
Yeah, you should be doing this.
Totally.
Pretty much what it says in this is just like during grunion season, avoid any mechanized maintenance, construction work, or other forms of sand disturbance. Seaward of the semi-lunar highest high tide line on the shore. So seaward, coastal side of the highest high tide.
Yeah, makes sense.
And the way you can identify a high tide is generally by the seaweed line.
Yeah, you can see a seaweed line,
or
like
there's a shelf.
Yeah, shelf or like rocks usually, or you can always tell.
Yeah, you can.
People can tell.
Well, for people that live near the beach, maybe.
Oh yeah, true.
If you're from Texas, I don't think you're realizing where a high tide line is. But generally, it's where you'll
Texas
see.
has beaches.
That's true. Okay, freaking Idaho.
Yeah, one of the flyover states,
Yeah.
Midwest.
No disrespect to anybody in Idaho, but
Sorry, you guys have cool lakes.
do they?
Probably.
We hope. Okay. Also, thing is, you don't want to work too much on the land side because if you throw too much debris, then it can suffocate the eggs. Also, if there's more like sand and stuff put on top of the already amount that the mother buries them in, you know what I mean?
I'm not following.
So, like, if you were to do like move a lot of sand on the land side and
Okay.
some of the sand spills over,
Oh, right, because then you're like drowning them in
exactly, you're
sand.
suffocating them.
Right. Oh, wow. Okay.
And so this,
So this isn't like they're not in like MPA or any sort of threatened status or where they're.
so there are fishing regulations, which I can get into.
Okay, yeah. Tell us.
But first, I want to give a shout out to Professor Karen L.M. Martin of Pepperdine University.
Yeah, Karen.
She's the one that wrote the Grunion grooming protocol, and she'll come into the conversation later. She's probably the leading researcher in grunions. So shout out Karen
Hell yeah.
of Pepperdine. So the fishing regulations. During the open season, a fishing license is required for a person 16 years and older. That's just normal fishing regulations. So the thing that they added though, starting in 2022, so recently,
Mm-hmm.
is they added back the closed season. So through the months of April, May, and June, which is like almost the entire season of the grunions, it's about the grunion run. It's a no take. You're not allowed to take any grunions.
We love ocean conservation regulations.
But in the months of like, we're in March, right?
We're in March.
Yeah. So in March, April, May, June. So in March and July, while the season is still kind of alive, the way to harvest or get grunions is kind of cool. It's different than any other fish. So the way you get or you're allowed to I'm going to keep on using the word harvest.
No, don't use harvest.
What?
It's
Collect.
no.
Because listen to the way how they have to do it though.
Okay.
You
yeah,
can't-
maybe this is going to give context to why he's been saying harvest like a plant.
Yeah, you can't use tools. You have to grab them with your hands. That's the only way you can collect them.
No.
Yeah.
Wait, per regulation or because they aren't interested in like fishing hook?
Well, they just don't want you to over collect.
So you have
You-
okay. What about Chris had a spearfishing era?
Yes.
Manual spearfishing when we were
Yes.
in Maui. Does that count?
Nope. You cannot
You
use
can't
a tool.
spearfish.
You cannot use a tool. The only way you can
have to old school freaking.
well, when they land up on the sand, you have to be you have to be there at night. That's what I'm saying. The only way you can get these things is literally this only way.
Because you could never catch it in the ocean. I was like, that's
Well,
impossible.
you might be able to fish it, on accident. You're just catching little small silverfish.
But then that's legal.
I don't know. I don't think you're allowed to take them because it literally says grunions may be taken by fish sportsmen using only hands. Like
wow.
That's literally in the license.
Wait, that's so interesting.
And so also, cool thing, or not cool thing, but you can't dig holes to get them all piled into one spot. You literally just have to go run around and grab them while they're flopping around. So this is why I say harvest.
So that's what we're doing later.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Wait, can you eat them?
Yeah. So
are they like a delicacy sort of?
A lot of people eat them whole. They'll just deep fry them.
Interesting.
Actually, in the book, where is it at? The Sea Forger's Guide to the North American California Coast by Kirk Lombard. He talks about how to cook them.
Oh, God.
He talks about how to cook. I would heavily recommend that book. We'll put it in the show notes. He talks about how to collect and get most fish in Northern California. So the thing is, you're only allowed to collect 30 grunions.
Who's keeping track?
Fish and Wildlife, supposedly. Because if you get caught with more than 30 grunions, you're getting a big fine.
Right. And they have those people that check when you like come back with your boat or like when you're leaving.
That's
the
at a
beach
harbor,
and, like,
yes.
Yeah.
That's at a harbor, yeah.
I almost had that job.
That'd have been a cool job, honestly.
But then they were like, I interviewed with City of Santa Cruz as a scientific fish aide to do that. And then they started showing me pictures of fish and they were like, can you name these fish species? And I was just, honestly, I'm just not a fish girl. I wish I was.
You're not an ichthyologist?
Ichthyologist.
Ichty?
I
thought it was itchy.
That would be hilarious. Okay, everybody should start calling it ichthyologist. But ichthyologist.
Okay.
But wait, let me tell you. So then they started showing me all these fish. Basically, I knew none, and I kept saying salmon over and over and halibut because I couldn't think of any other fish. And I obviously didn't get the
Well,
job.
no kidding. If you're saying everything's the same in our halibut.
They were like, and none of them were salmon.
Yeah, I was saying we have a lot of rockfish in Santa Cruz. And you got to know all the different kind of rockfish.
And they were like, okay. And then they would just be
Yeah,
like,
they're like, okay, we're never
never
gonna call
heard
you back.
again. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So let's talk about the population history because I was kind of talking about that, and then I got sidetracked as we were talking about the fishing regulations.
Okay.
So the reason why these fishing regulations are in place is because recently their population has been declining, but in the 20s, show the fisheries were starting to show a sign of depletion. A regulation was passed in 1927, establishing a closed season of 3 months from April through June, so the one that is currently installed.
Mm-hmm.
The fishery improved, and in 1947, the closure was shortened to April through May.
Mm-hmm.
So shorter closed season, longer to harvest. In 2022, the closure was again extended April through June to protect the grunions from all the different predators, especially humans.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty much a basic background on grunions, how they reproduce, what they eat, their size, habitat, stuff like that. So now let's go into some current research.
Let's do it.
The Johnson Lab at California State University, Long Beach was looking.
Heard of this lab?
Really?
Yeah.
They do a lot of different things. But one of the things they were doing is to see if temperature plays a part in, or no, they were seeing if pH of the seawater plays a part in behavior, growth, and mortality rates.
Of course.
Mortality.
Of fucking course. And that's the issue with ocean acidification.
Yes.
Everybody, climate change.
Anthropogenic climate change.
Yeah.
But they also were seeing if temperature plays a part in sex determination of California grunion, with warmer temperatures in early life increasing the portion of males.
Interesting.
Yes. And so if you have warmer waters, you're just going to generally accumulate more and more males, and that's not going to leave as many options for future offsprings.
So has the male population been increasingly growing over the last 10 years?
Don't know if there's research specifically on that,
but there's associating warmer temperature with more males.
Yes, that has been proven. And so with the Johnson lab, they were seeing if low pH seawater, if the populations are very, what's the right word? Diverse. Because if they have a diverse genetic pool, then they're probably easier to adapt than if more a specific one. They were seeing pretty much what they would do is they would go to the beach and they would collect grunions and then just have them, the right word, not eject, but release their gametes into a cup.
Very PG. I love it.
Yeah, and then from there you can just do genetic testing to see the genetic differences in the grunions. So what they're doing is pretty much just to see how wide and varied does the genetic population of grunions. And in conclusion, the lab studies confirmed that low pH does indeed increase mortality rates and reduces growth rates. So another thing to just add on to their already kind of
diminishing population.
Yeah, diminishing population because they're losing the habitat. Earth, the water temperature and pH is not favoring them also.
Oh gosh. Are they in population decline then, I assume?
Yes.
Right.
But they're not bad enough to where
they're not listed yet.
Yeah, they're not they're only endemic to this area also.
Oh, you didn't mention that?
Well, I said they don't migrate earlier.
But they are here and only here.
Yes. This species and then the Gulf ones, the Gulf grunions are in the Gulf of Mexico.
Cool.
And so here we go for some more cool
Also,
things.
can I note, we're calling it the Gulf of Mexico on purpose.
Oh, I didn't even think about that, but yeah, Mexico.
We're aware, but it's still the Gulf of Mexico.
That's funny. I completely forgot about that. That even happened.
I was just in Florida, so it's fresh on my mind.
That's
fair. I was pretty annoyed.
That's fair. So we're going to talk some more about Professor Karen.
Mm-hmm.
She's back in it. She is the director of the Grunion Greeters.
Oh, gosh.
Which is a citizen science programming.
Oh.
This project monitors key aspects of Grunion Run at over 50 beaches across the geographical range.
How do we get in touch with Karen?
Probably, I think
we should email.
We should email Karen.
We should see if we can help. I mean, 4 nights of your life, we can do.
Well, there's multiple runs every year.
Oh, I thought it was once a year.
No.
Between every full and new moon?
Yes. But you know that happens every month.
Oh, wow. So this is frequent.
Semi-frequent, yeah. It's
earlier I said maybe you could catch them next year. So it's monthly.
During the spring and summer months.
Okay.
And it's
Cool.
not all, it's like the Grunion runs haven't been as strong as recently. We'll get into that.
Okay.
But this thing where she has like a bunch of like just general public people kind of giving her information, she has generated a long-term data set made up of over 5,000 reports.
Whoa.
So that's pretty cool. Over
5,000 Grunion runs?
No, 5,000 reports. So 5,000 individual reports,
Like individual.
like visual experiences. So, it could be like, maybe one Grunion run, but across 10 different beaches. You know what I mean? Because it's not like they all attack one beach.
Right.
So that's what I mean by 5,000 reports.
Okay.
Grunion greeter volunteers are trained to assess 1, the number of fish on the shore, 2, the duration, and 3, extent of shoreline during the peak of the run. So pretty much they're like, want to see how far up the beach they go, just so that she can read the information to, the city or whatever. Oh, on this beach, this is where the top line is at.
Yeah. Better management practice
Yeah.
information.
And so the measures, the way they measure these things are known as the Walker scale.
Why? Oh,
Because
because she's Karen Walker.
No, she's Karen Martin.
Uh-huh.
But
Why?
there is a scientist, Boyd Walker,
Oh gosh.
who single-handedly gathered data on Grunion runs almost every night for 3 years in 1947.
That's dedication to the Grunion.
Yes.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So the results suggest runs are declining across the species range. From 2002 to 2010, the median average ranking on the Walker scale was W2, described as a good run and indicating 100 to 500 fish at peak during a run.
100 to 500 is a huge window. I guess it's hard to count fish in holes.
While it's dark out.
Yeah.
So it's just taking a guess.
Okay.
And then from 2010 to 2018, though, this ranking drops to a median of W1.
Oh.
A light run with fewer than 100 fish at the peak.
Oh.
Furthermore, between 2014 and 2016, a median of W0, which no run with little or no spawning was recorded in both. So the population has definitely been declining. And something that maybe is because of this is because of these sea temperatures, and it's pushing them more northwards.
Oh.
So
they're not just dying. They're adapting. They're going north.
Here's the thing, though. The northern variation of the California Grunion is smaller and spawns less frequently, producing fewer, smaller eggs per clutch.
Oh.
So yes, they are maybe moving up northwards and finding new habitat up there, but they're not being as healthy. And
animals only reproduce when they have the means to reproduce. So if they're having smaller clutch sizes, smaller bodies, that means like they're less.
It's just not working for them very well.
Yeah, they're less healthy. Oh.
Okay. I wanted to include this quote because I thought it was quite funny. So this comes from the book, The Sea Forger's Guide to the Northern California Coast by Kirk Lombard.
One more time.
It was published in 2014. And he talks about receiving news because this dude's like the ultimate fisherman G. Like he's got connections everywhere, like ringing his line, be like, oh, I saw a Grunion run at this beach at this time. And so he's got like resources to kind of like really dial things in. And he says he received news about a Grunion run at a San Francisco beach where he states, and I quote, "So I drove out on the last night and soon realized that at least some Grunions have fully embraced Northern California as a place worthy of kinky fish sex on the beach."
Yes.
So
that's hilarious.
Yeah, I really love the way this man writes. Just he's said some other crazy things in this book,
but that's what makes it fun.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, I thought the same way. Like when I first heard about, it's like bukkake.
What are they doing on the beach in the holes? Like what is going on?
So pretty interesting about just how these Grunions reproduce, their current population. The fishing regulations on them are you have to use hands rather than actual tools is pretty cool.
So interesting.
So they're pretty unique little fish.
Yeah.
And they're very prevalent in Southern California, specifically San Diego.
So interesting for just like a little silver fish.
Yeah, exactly.
You would just look at it and be like, that's a fish.
Yeah. And I mean, if you talk to anybody that lived in Southern California, probably of my parents' generation, so if they were born in the 60s, 70s, somewhere in there, they probably remember going down to the beach and doing Grunion runs because they were a lot more prevalent back there. And a lot of families would go down there just for entertainment. That's
so interesting. I've never heard of a Grunion run and I'm so excited.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Any other questions you got?
No, I think you did a great job. I learned so much.
I know, right?
That's so cool. And that's the beauty of this is I never know what Chris is going to talk about and we don't talk about it before. And it's so fun to learn like so much and I'm going to remember all of this interesting Grunion stuff.
Exactly.
Cool. Thanks, Chris.
Yep. When we will see you guys in the next episode.
Bye.
Bye bye.